Hello everybody, my name is Richard Vigorelli and this is Vigorelli Institute. Now, in light of last week's video and the amount of backlash I got on it, happens, I am going to do a little bit more with post-apocalyptics. Because why not? So, let's get into it. But before I do, want to let you know that I have recently launched a new thing on vimandvigorelli.com. Link will be in the description. You can have me take you on a ghost tour in downtown Nashville now. Absolutely. I'm actually in the middle of fixing up the SEO, but I needed to take a bit of a break so I could do this for you. Okay? Everything is pre-recorded. You pay a nominal fee. I've got a la carte and theme tours if you would like such a thing. Go ahead and go to vimandvigorelli.com, click on the little ghost that says new, and take you to a little sign-in page, and then you can pick what you like. All right? All right. So, back to the video. Now, a post-apocalyptic and apocalyptic are subgenres usually of a sci-fi variety. They can be fantasy, depending on how the story is told and what themes and ideas and so forth are being explored and into what depth. Okay? Now, Fallout is a post-apocalyptic, but it also has apocalyptic sublines in it. Let me explain. Now, an apocalyptic story tells the story of how civilization falls. What is the cause? What is the reason behind it? Okay, what gets wiped out, etc. An post-apocalyptic story is everything's gone, we're coming back, and this is how we're doing it, or not doing it for that matter. Okay, now there's several sub genres of either. Okay, so it can be some sort of invasion. Usually with sci-fi, that is aliens. Okay, or very least something from outside what the civilization calls its own, and everything falls apart as a result. It could be plague, some kind of horrific disease, say zombies of whatever kind. Could be viral, could be bacterial, could even be fungal. Other times it's some kind of helminthic, that'd be a worm, parasitic infection that makes people go crazy. Okay? Or mutate or something. Okay? Obviously war, nuclear for example, or some kind of accident. We were doing something, we made a stupid, and there we go. Okay? Now, that goes for both of them. Okay? In a post-apocalyptic, there's then two subvarieties within each of these. One, we know how the fall happened, and we're dealing with it. Two, we don't know how the fall happened, so we're just kind of picking up the pieces because. Okay? Now, with world building, I am a very big fan of effective storytelling. I like continuity. Okay? Now, you can be effective in ignorance. All right? And you don't necessarily have to tell anyone who's reading and or listening to your story how the fall happened. But my recommendation from one storyteller to another is you, the writer of the story, might need to know. It's up to you how deep you want to go with it. My recommendation is go as deep as possible. Okay? Just don't get lost in the world building, please. It's called world building constipation, and they don't make a pill for that. Anyway, what I've done, because I have written a post-apocalyptic, is I started out with the apocalyptic phase. I decided to use a tailored bioweapon. Stopped writing it as soon as 2020 happened. Way too close to home. Couldn't do it. Anyway, the entire world balkanizes, and there we go. Balkanize means large political entity splits apart into constituent nations? Nations. Anyway, the issue comes up with plausibility. Okay? If you know how the fall happens, whether or not you tell anyone, is the fall plausible given the world in which you are telling the story? Okay? For example, let's say you are telling an apocalyptic or even a post-apocalyptic that is set high point of the Iron Age. So we're talking late Roman Empire, early Middle Ages, something like that. Okay? And everybody's running around with laser guns. Okay. How did that happen? And why does that make sense? I am now very confused. Talk to me like I drink a lot and not all there, please. Okay? So you do need some internal consistency. Okay? What is going to crash something like, say, the early French Empire versus something that's going to crash, the Japanese Empire circa 1938, probably going to be two very different things. Okay? Very different scales. Okay? Very different causes. Now, again, you don't have to tell your audience, okay? But you can give hints throughout the work as to how this happened. Now, this is me talking, okay? I've seen quite a few post-apocalyptics, like Enter the Badlands, for instance, and the Shannara, whatever it is, Chronicles, that was on MTV a few years ago. That was a show. Anyway, where it's been a long time and nobody remembers how the world fell apart. We just, picked everything up and kind of recreated. Okay. Here's why there's some problems with it. Okay? And we can look at our own history for that. Okay? So, within our own history, many, many empires have fallen. Roman, Holy Roman, French, British, Mongolian, Chinese, several times, Mughal. I can keep going, okay? And one of the things that always holds is the survivors remember it, okay? The survivors know exactly what happened, whether or not it's factual, but they know. Not only that, they teach their kids, and the kids teach the kids. So what happens is it pervades into the culture that the world before the fall was holy. It was sacred. It was beautiful until the thing happened, until those people showed up, until this disease came in, until we started talking to these weird people that talk funny, etc. Okay? And a mythos grows up within that history. Things that are directly related to the fall become taboo. Meaning, those are bad. You do not want to be associated with those. Okay? If you have those things, you need to get rid of them today. Let's say there's an invasion of another culture, and the only thing they did was kind of sweep in, steal a bunch of crap, and leave. Okay? But it was enough to destroy the civilization. They spoke a different language. If you were caught speaking that language, in some instances in history, things go badly for you because you are labeled as other. You are labeled as not real. You are not permitted. Okay? Take fall of Roman Empire, for instance. Italian. For us, the Roman Empire is a very sacred time in history. Yes, we look past, the human bondage. Yes, we look past the indulgences and appetites and decadence of the ruling class. And yes, we look past, things like human sacrifice, human rights abuses, and all of that because we controlled most of Europe. Okay? And then when you point it out, you're like, yeah, okay, fair. Okay? Ask any patriotic Brit. And they look back at about 1890s, the height of the British Empire. It's a wonderful time. Why wouldn't you want to go back to that? Well, they had outbreaks of cholera routinely in the major cities because, the sewer system didn't exist. Okay? And, there was exploitation and so forth of the colonial locations. But, beside that, okay? So, right afterwards is always a period of turmoil. It's always bad. And one of two things happens. Either that time period after the fall is spoken of in hushed voices, or the information on that is scarce or non-existent. Either because no one was around to consider writing about it because they were too busy, surviving, or if they did, nobody wants to talk about it because culturally it is so painful. Okay? So what will happen is within the post-apocalyptic thing, you'll see idiosyncrasies within the culture where people are looking back before the fall and picking up artifacts and items and other stuff that is really, really cool, and they will emulate it. Names of great leaders will become the names of leaders. For example, Caesar, okay, becomes Tsar, Kaiser, etc. Okay. And certain ways of doing things will become extremely important because they give a link of stability. Okay? Then as the culture continues to progress and the language even evolves, new ideas will come up and they will meld with the old ones. That's how we get Italians out of Romans. Okay? By the way, Romans still exist. They're from, Rome. In the province of Lazio, once known as Latium. Okay. When it comes to, especially when you get to the Balkanizations, different areas are going to regard the fall and the result of the fall in different ways. Also, humans have a natural instinct to tribalize. And our tribe is contingent on power and association with that power. So, the smallest tribe you're part of is your family. Okay? Then the tribe expands to your neighborhood, village, your city, okay? Then state, province, nation, etc. Okay? What we look for is commonalities within that. Can you and I understand each other? Do we have similar desires? Okay? Now, if we just had a balkanization event, and this is apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic, we may live in the same city, but we do not think the same. Therefore, we are other to each other, and therefore enemies. Okay? So how is that going to play out in the city? What is the cause of that division? Is it religious? Is it special? Is it racial? Is it national? Meaning, I'm Italian, you are not. See what I'm saying? Okay. What is the cause? Okay. Is it based on wealth? Well, what defines wealth in this new world? Is wealth based on money, or is wealth based on a resource like food, land, water, which, by the way, would have a significant influence from the fall? Because like I said before, if the government guaranteeing the monetary system no longer exists, then the monetary system no longer exists and a new one is going to have to be created. At the beginning, by the way, it will be based on barter, because things like food, water, and other necessary resources like tools and weapons will become extraordinarily valuable. And you will need an exchange. The most important people are skilled, and they have the ability to create and preserve and protect the things that a given society or tribe needs to survive. Okay? If you don't believe me, pick any fallen empire in history and look at the world right after it ceased to exist. What does it look like? Okay? That is one thing that I will give Fallout some props for, is lots of tribes running around. Some of them are not exactly human, but details. Okay? So, it's about all I've got for you today in that. So, I'll be back later with something else. By the way, today, right before I recorded this, I actually watched the Battlestar Galactica miniseries that came out in 2003. I'm going to do a video on it as soon as I'm done recording this one. We'll probably follow. Okay? So, like, share, subscribe, visit my website, links in the description, and go ahead and follow me on Twitter, etc. You take care. Bye-bye.